All right, everybody, back again. Last week's pod I felt like went well and covered a lot of new topics. And look, a lot has happened in the last week. I think we started with uh, Elon Musk feud. We have now seemingly resolved that feud, Trump and Elon. Shows you how quickly a week goes. Um,
Elon apologized. Was that kind of an apology?
I think it
It
kind
was
of
a
was. I
halfway
mean,
apology. Yeah.
yeah. And I think Trump had some decent things to say yesterday. And look, that was like a little tiff, is what it looks like. But anyhow, lots going on. We covered last week big beautiful bill that's still ongoing in the Senate. The Congressional Budget Office has adjusted its date, as has Besant, on when the debt ceiling will be hit. So we were talking about, will we get a bill in July? It's now looking like maybe August. And who knows what could happen between now and then. But this week, we're going to cover, first off, the sisters went to Europe, and we want to hear all about it. But for the audience, we'll start back off with some intros. So we've got Tara here. She's our fashion princess and viral queen. I do want an update on Tara's virality this week and whether she's doing that Fox interview or not. Kurt's the man's man, builder of things, and we're always eager to live through Kurt as to what his bachelor status is or is not, and what girl's able to tie him down. We will see. And then Kelly, our self-proclaimed tax wizard, small businesses' biggest champion. And if you've listened to our pods in the past, she is certainly the firstborn in pretty much all things that she does. So let's go to Sister Act Goes Euro.
What's your
Kelly
intro,
planned
Brett?
it. What's that?
What's your intro?
Yeah, I don't have one. I'm just here to help this conversation grow. And
Political guru, environmental.
I mean, I'm just the least interesting of all. So
I
Not true.
I
I'm gonna
heard
play
I
to my
heard
benefits.
that Brett showed up to a ball game last week with a child strapped on his chest, a child in a stroller, and two other children playing, I believe both playing ball games. And were you actually coaching also at the same time?
No, but I did have all four children.
Watch my kids play.
Tara was in town. Phoenix, Tara's oldest, was playing in a baseball tournament here in Greenville, and so they were staying with us at the house. And Shannon was going on a work trip. So yeah, I had all four kids, and we just took them all to the ball field. So I had Shannon's rap, which is a pretty girly rap, I would say. Like
I
it's
mean, it's
definitely not
preteen. It's
manly.
not like
Um,
any worse.
but it's the easiest thing to carry around a 6 month old and then try to contain a 2.5 year old. And then the older boys, they were not playing. Although my oldest Liam did help with doing some being a bat boy along with Tara's Lincoln.
Nice.
So they had fun. But yeah, it was, I managed it okay. It was hot, and but I rolled in like super dad and
If
had
you
them
can
all.
input a photo, I did get a very good photo of him
Okay.
with like all the children strapped to him.
Yeah.
Who
That feels
told
so
you
that's
about it, Kelly? This is what I want to know is how do you even know about this?
he told me.
Oh, Brett told you. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did tell me.
Yeah.
I mean,
I sent Shannon a photo because she was a little stressed, leaving the baby for the first time. And so I sent her a photo to let him know Super Dad had it under control.
Yeah.
I mean,
Brett
once
had it under control.
you get past two kids, anybody with more than two kids knows, then at that point you're just rolling in deep. Like you just
Yeah.
it
You
If
just
it's
figure it
chaos,
out.
it's chaos. You just kind of live with it. So,
So that's the intro to Brett.
yeah, there's me.
Yeah.
It's my day. All right, let's get back to it. Let's keep on schedule. So, the Sister Act goes Euro. I thought this was interesting to follow through social media, and I'm just generally interested on, the takeaways from leaving America and coming back and visiting these beautiful places y'all went to. But anyhow, Kelly planned it. Everyone else tagged along. We knew that was going to be the case. Two generations of sisters go on a European adventure, and I'm sure there were some good moments to share. So let's dive into the trip, and similarities and contrasts to the United States. Its people, culture, and does Europe have class and the United States have a lot of ass? That's what I want to know.
I mean,
So
right off
take
the
it
rip,
away,
we were,
ladies.
yeah, right off the rip, we were calling ourselves peasants because we just don't even understand. Like, America is a baby compared to England. England is so old. And we went to a church, Kelly, it was built in like the 600s, not the 1600s, the 600s. And if you could see the look on my face for the entirety of the trip, I was just like, at everything, because you just can't even describe the architecture. It was so gorgeous. And then they have all these gardens, and they're not American gardens. Okay, they don't have flowers. They're greenery gardens, and it's like the way that they cut and manicure these gardens. And the girls kept saying that Kelly and I, we could get an orgasm from the garden. We were so excited about all the gardens, and we did see a lot of gardens, a lot of parks. Um, yeah, I mean, it was just gorgeous. It's so lush. It's so green. Everybody's friendly. I mean, a lot of people had warned me ahead of time, like, people hate Americans when you go over there. We did not experience that at all. Everybody was super friendly, super helpful from the second we landed. I mean, this guy, I guess he was working on the flat like below us, took all our luggage upstairs for us. And I mean, we're talking like heavy duty luggage, lugged it up the steps for us, helped us get in. Our cab drivers were all very nice. Our Lyft drivers were all very nice. I mean, we just had a great experience. Every restaurant we went to, they treated us like queens. I don't I don't have anything negative to say. Honestly, I loved every second of it. It was we saw a lot. We packed a lot into every day, and I mean, I can't wait to go back. I feel like we saw a lot, but we definitely did not see everything. There was just so much to see. And
What was your
you know,
favorite part, T?
oh gosh, I don't know. I don't know that I have a favorite part. Jeremy keeps asking me. I'm like, I don't know. I loved it all. Like, I love architecture. So for me, just to walk around, and I love to be outside to walk around. So just to walk around and look at the architecture, I would have been perfectly happy just doing that every day. We went to some really good museums. I think we all enjoy a museum. Um, I mean, the food was really good. We got like
How,
Kelly themed
how was
every
the
day. Of
weather?
course, of course she did. Beautiful weather the first like what 3 days, and then we got a little rain, and then it was a little overcast. But I mean, not bad at all. Um, and yeah, so Kelly themed like every day. So the first day was just like traditional English theme. We walked around and we went and saw what, like Parliament,
Big
um
Ben.
Big Ben, yeah. So we had fish and chips that day. That's the only actual English meal that we ate, I think, was the fish and chips. We went to a pub, a traditional pub. And then the rest of the time we ate whatever. I think we had Italian a couple of times. We had Thai food. We had sushi. The food was all really good. Best meal, in my opinion, was my birthday meal. We went to this like authentic Italian restaurant. Everybody in there was Italian. They spoke Italian. The menu was Italian. And the decor, I sent Kurt a picture. The decor of this place was so gorgeous, like mid-century modern with like all this abstract art in there, and it was
Hmm.
like very colorful. The presentation of the food was beautiful. It was like family style eating. So Kelly ordered like 15 things for the table.
Yeah, I
So
hope you
good.
were taking some good notes for interior architecture
I
design
was. I took
for our
so many
future project.
photos. I ran out of storage on my phone at one point. Luckily, I had that little drive thing so I could pull them all off. I just took photos of everything. I think, if anybody was annoyed with anything on the trip, it was the fact that I was just stopping every 2 seconds to take photos.
Yeah.
We
Well,
hope to get all of those photos now,
Yeah,
given
clog your phone with all those
yeah.
photos.
Well, what was cool, I thought, Kel, is you had your two daughters with you. And so, kind of two generations of sisters going on this trip. So, tell me what that was like taking your two now adult daughters to Europe. And I don't think they've ever been to Europe before. Is that right?
No. Yeah, that was really cool. And I think what was uh, super interesting, particularly for Tara and I, because we're both actually kind of like rural, operators,
Dwellers.
even though we've been
Yeah.
in and around big cities. Both the girls, because London's highly we used a ton of public transit. Both of them were so much more comfortable with like public transit and just, hopping on the tube, hopping on the buses. Kendall had downloaded this app for like how to get, from place to place most efficiently. And Katie, my youngest, I think by the end of the trip, quite literally, she was like, I could totally live here. And she seemed like a local. I mean, they just both were like really easily integrated into that kind of big city life, which is certainly different than,
Yeah.
not that we're not around big cities, but like we don't live there on the daily. We're both, kind of rural livers. And so that was kind of cool to see just how easily they integrated. Yeah, picking up and then getting to know them a little bit. They both loved the architecture, the museums. Kendall particularly loved some of the history, like the Tower of London and the statues and, stuff like that. So it was really cool to just get to experience them also together in a different way. And since they also haven't lived together in a number of years, because we're both, out and away in college, like to watch them interact with each other, it was great. So we had, I think, an absolutely fabulous time. I mean, like Tara said, we packed a ton into 8 days. 8 days, in London, but every single day, I don't know, we walked a ridiculous amount.
Yeah.
It was I had to buy inserts by the middle of the week for my feet. I mean,
We
it
had to
was
buy
a lot of
inserts. We had to buy
walking.
medicated back pouches.
Yeah, Tara had like a
Now, is that the standard? Is it like in New York City, you walk or take the public transport everywhere?
Yeah,
very much
compared
so,
to New York
Kurt.
City for sure.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much so. It's, just all walking. I mean, we even with Ubers, we only actually took, I think, 3 Ubers the entire
3.
week.
Mhm.
And we used it because of the airport, just getting, to get
Mhm.
luggage. Well, the most American moment we had, the most tourist moment we had was
That's
getting on
embarrassing.
the tube from the airport in London to, which is out there. Like, so the train ride was almost an hour. And we four highly tourist looking women roll onto the tube with our 7 checked bags
Suitcases.
plus our 7 suitcases plus our carry-on bags
Mhm.
onto a completely packed subway, and the amount of hate that we received.
I was trying to vibrate. There were these 2 old ladies sitting across from me and Katie, just pointing and talking about it.
Yeah.
Like, stupid America.
Tara, your connection is bad, or you are not talking
Yeah.
to the mic.
Same. It's hard to
I
get
can't
you.
I can't get it any closer.
There you go. That's clear right
That's
there.
it.
That's clear?
Super, super close.
Yeah.
That
Maybe the
is,
cord's
yeah.
like, I don't know.
Could
No,
be.
no.
Super close. Yeah.
Well,
So a lot of judgment on the
Oh,
tube
yeah,
with
for
our
sure.
luggage.
yeah. So, what's going on right now with these ICE detentions and
Really switching it up.
outrage in LA? I mean, we've seen some protests and different things in Europe, and of course, we're not as close to home as it. But I'm interested on the safety aspect. So, I mean, you guys were going to tourist areas, right?
Mhm.
Generally.
Generally.
Okay. I mean, for good looking women going to Europe, how did y'all feel? Kelly, especially for you, you have your two daughters with you. I mean, they're adults, but you still are mom. So, like, how did y'all feel walking around for 8 days in Europe? And would you feel the same knowing some of the, big tourist cities in the United States, like Chicago or New York? Um, and y'all have been there as well. Like, give me some compare and contrast there.
That's a great question, Brett. I gotta say, we left. We were talking about this on the plane on the way back. I don't know about you, Tara. I never felt unsafe the entire time. Now, I will say we were not hanging out late, I guess, in the evening where maybe you would have a, time where maybe it gets sketchy. We were usually back to our apartment every night by 8 or 9 o'clock, but I never felt unsafe. And we did a lot of tourist areas, but I had actually I got us to places that were not like, we obviously did like Buckingham Palace, but we also did places that were less touristy and more, kind of local feel. Same thing. Everywhere we went, I felt very safe. We had been told, of course, keep, crossbody bags and people pickpocket and those kinds of things. I honestly, thankfully, we never had any of those experiences and we really never felt unsafe. It is very diverse. There is a wide range of people from all walks of life. You can certainly tell when you're there because it's a very large, diverse city. Same thing. I never felt anything concerning whatsoever. And oddly, we weren't like plugged in. Uh, we never watched TV or anything like that. But also, I just think it's interesting when you maybe remove yourself from like maybe just social media or the news and the internet. I also never I kind of never thought about politics. I never really heard. We might have had one guy randomly
Guys.
tell us on a bus, yeah, he was like, "You're from America. I love Trump." And then we had another random guy come up to us in a park and say, "You're from America. I hate Trump." So
Yeah.
we had two encounters with two men, one on each end of the spectrum, and that was it. That was the only US
Yeah.
thing we heard from anybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
So
to
I
my,
think we were pretty safe. And there was a lot of
yeah.
Americans there too, not obviously in the tourist areas, but like when we were out shopping, I met like two women that live in Dallas and London, split their time, but they're American. I mean, everybody was super friendly. I mean, of course, they know right off the rip, oh, where are you from? I'm like, the United States. They're like, no, I know, but where? And they're curious and they want to talk to you. And I just found everybody to be very friendly. I never felt unsafe. Um, and usually I'm pretty cognizant of my surroundings. I didn't ever think anybody was like a threat. Nobody was like following us, staring at us. I think in general, people were just going about their life. So
Yeah.
yeah, everything that we were pre-warned about, we definitely never experienced. And even our one of our Uber drivers, he even said he had lived in London, he had gone to college in London and then moved back to India, Kelly,
I think he was Pakistani.
Pakistan, and then had just in the last couple years moved back into London because it was a better opportunity for his daughter to go to university. And he said it is a world of difference having lived there 20 years ago versus now, or maybe even 30 years ago. He said the 90s he lived there. So he said that it has come a long way. It's cleaned up, it's more accepting, and it's a completely different London than it was in the 90s, which to me just kind of sounded like how New York City used to be. It's
Hmm.
a different place now. So I don't think that,
Yeah.
yeah, we felt great. We had a good time.
Well,
Mhm.
one last mark on this is kind of the class versus the ass, and what always I think Shannon and I did a brief trip overseas, and one thing we certainly noticed was I don't think we saw a single obese person um, when we were traveling, other than on the airplane, maybe to get there. It seems like a lot of obese people find airplanes. and take up more than one seat. But regardless, like, so what did you? I mean, what was the experience there? We have seen, we've talked about this on the podcast. Um, the health, the chronic health issues, the obesity, diabetes in America, and RFK Jr.'s trying to put those statistics out there to help people wake up and realize how unhealthy America is. When you
Mhm.
go to Europe, and since it's such fresh of mind for you, what does it look like over there? And not obviously the tourist aspect, but when you got into more local spaces and restaurants, did you see that over there? Were people overweight?
Not not
No.
nearly as prevalent as what we see every day in the US. And we were unpacking that when we were coming back. I mean, I think there's a couple factors that probably are at play. I mentioned that we walked. It's highly more public transit, so it would be very hard to be very overweight. We definitely saw, I would say, what I would probably guess was more tourists that were probably overweight, but honestly, they could probably only get maybe to one place a day. I mean, the nice thing is we could get everywhere,
Yeah,
just because we were in better shape. So I definitely did not observe nearly the obesity that we see every day in the US. And I, just to be sure, then like looked it up, and it's definitely a disparity. So,
yeah,
um, adult obesity in the UK is like 25%. It's 40, they're saying it's 42% currently in the US.
Mhm.
yeah.
And
Wow.
20% of children in the US are obese. They're saying 10 in the UK. So, and they're actually saying that this is rising in the UK. So it's still going to be a problem, but
Mm-hmm.
we're just,
Yeah,
basically 2 to 1 fatter.
Yeah.
So
And the
two to
Tipsy
one.
food, I
brain.
mean, like Kendall and I both have stomach issues. Kendall did get a little ill the one day, but like I can't drink milk normally, and I had a mocha every day with whatever they put in that whole milk, kefir milk or whatever they use, and I was fine. I never had to like adjust my eating. I ate whatever I wanted, and then I mean, I definitely didn't come home, I didn't gain an ounce, which of course we did walk everywhere. But I mean, I didn't have any issues with the food, and we ate like kings. I mean, every meal was massive. I feel like we ate so much food because we wanted experiences. So we just ordered for the table everywhere we went. Um, yeah, so I think it would be hard to be obese. I didn't really observe so much of the weight of people as much as I was concerned with the fashion, because it was interesting to see women kind of play second fiddle in the UK, and men are very, very fashionable in London and proper fit, as they say. Very
Kurt,
into their appearance.
Kurt would be a good fit in over there.
Oh yes. I
Mhm.
I mean, if my big old husband could have fit into any of these stores, I could have bought so much stuff, I could have bought him a whole new wardrobe. But they don't like big boy sizes over there.
Yeah,
Couldn't find 'em anything, but I mean, for every women's store, there were 2 men's stores. They were everywhere. Fashion was very prevalent for men, and, now, I mean, there were some UK girls where both Kendall and I were just like, "Oh, her outfit's so cute. Oh, her outfit's so cute." Their styling is different because they wear, like, boots, a lot of boots with everything, which I guess because 'cause you're walking so much, but you still wanna be fashionable. I coulda just yeah, there was a lot to see, but it is, especially living in the South, for me, it was nice to see men who really took time to get dressed and had like cute little fits on, and not just like proper English preppy fits, like stylish street style fits. Um, you know,
yeah.
it was nice.
Um, cool. Kel, any last words on the trip here before we move on?
no, I thought it was great. And I think that the big takeaway is that uh, we live in a enormous world, and seeing other parts of the world is great and opens your eyes to other, you know, just reminds us how kind of small we are in the great big world. And I mean, just, physically, but also just how big the world is and how much things that we probably haven't seen. It makes me want to do more, go more places, experience more cultures. So I feel like we probably um, maybe opened a little box of excitement for all of us that we want to make something like that happen again.
Awesome.
We'll let the
All
boys
right. Well,
come.
thanks for sharing. We're moving on to the second topic of the day, which is NIL. And for those who don't know, that is the name, image, and likeness. You may have heard about it, you may have seen it, been some prominent deals reported over the last several years that this has been going on. But, this has to deal with the NCAA existing rules about uh, college athletes primarily being able to capitalize on their name, image, and likeness, which has previously been not allowed through NCAA rules. And some would say for very good reason. But the world has changed. And so my view here, and I'll throw it into the intro, and I have many views on this, but I'm interested in what y'all have looked up, and we've got some personal experience. But if we're gonna have these Trump babies and can't kids all cash in on some level of opportunity and their talents in the world of high dollar sports, advertisers, booster clubs, and basically taxpayer subsidized universities? Like, why can't these kids be student athletes be capitalizing on it as well? We've got some personal experience. I think all of us here have been athletes in our day. Some may still consider ourselves athletes, although nothing near professional. Um, Kelly's had college athletes, and Tara's going to be next here with her kids
Yeah.
approaching college. And what does that look like for you? But so, Kurt, I'm going to go to you first on the NIL stuff. I know for the audience, Kurt has no kids. We're hoping he's going to have a plentiful amount of them one day. But Kurt was once a very good athlete. And Kurt, you didn't play, sanctioned sport in college. But like, what do you think of NIL if you were today to be going to college for athletics? Would you support what's currently going on with NIL or not? So interested in your view.
Yeah, I don't know if I have that strong of feelings one way or the other. I do think that if student athletes are bringing organizations large sums of money and uh, bringing a heightened reputation to a college, I think they should get, paid for it, especially because these colleges use their likeness to promote their athletic programs. So I don't have any problem with it. Um, I think it's smart. Now, does that change the integrity of college sports? I don't know. Maybe the NIL laws are even being applied to high school, which I didn't even realize until I'm
Yeah.
reading it right now. So the NCAA permits high school students and athletes to monetize their NIL, and that's based on state. So you have, it looks like the majority of states have signed this into law. Several, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 have proposed it, and only one, Alabama, has repealed it. Um, so it looks like almost everybody is on board with this. So yeah, I don't know if I have a strong opinion on it. I mean, I think it's great. Look, I mean, if you're an athlete, it's kind of growing up as an athlete, you have to, and then even in college, like Brett, when you were running track, I mean, yes, you're part of a sports program. Yes, you're getting some benefits, maybe some scholarship money, but you're not making any money to support your life. And if your whole life is athletics, then you should be able to make some money off that. Otherwise, you're going to be working, a second job.
I had to get a job.
Exactly.
But do you think that by essentially highly compensating mostly young men,
Mm-hmm.
that the average 18-year-old man is not prepared for some of the levels of wealth that is being thrown at them,
Mm-hmm.
and it's now de I guess, or eroding at the team dynamic
Mm-hmm.
for these college teams that is the intention. It's different than when you go professional. It's just a different playing field. But you're playing for a university, and now you have essentially like a prima donna on the team that's like making all the nil money. But does that person now basically become that and then erode the cohesiveness of these college teams, which then negatively affects the rest of the organization, because
Mm-hmm.
all of the efforts get put onto this one or two studs on the team
Yeah.
that's
Mm-hmm.
getting the nil money.
I mean, I think, yeah, it might have its repercussions, but however, I still think if you're going to dedicate your life to being an athlete, unless you have a lot of scholarship or a school that's going to grant you money, I mean, you're going to have to rely on somebody else to pay your bills.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I don't know. I think if you mean being an athlete is a full-time job itself, and especially if you're a top athlete. So,
But they are being compensated by being given full scholarships. They're traditionally completely compensated with a stipend for room, board, and food.
mhm,
So it's not like if they're full ride already stud athletes, they're getting all of that. I just think that the mass sums of money that you're throwing at some of these people is going to negatively affect the overall, maybe what made college sports different
mhm,
than professional sports. Because I mean, there is still a difference. If you watch college sports, it's still always been more about the team and less about the player. And that was the point, is that you're going to be, if these guys are good enough, they're going to go pro, and that's fine. But this is, kind of keeping them an amateur, but now it's basically allowing them to take professional athlete status.
I think what it may more affect is even just the consumerism side of college sports.
Mm-hmm.
So, how much more advertising will be poured into a college football game now, just like it is with professional football or any other sport. So, yeah, there'll probably be major changes in sports programs just based off of that new market to make money, essentially.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's go back here real quick. I mean, um, the NCAA changed its rules after a Supreme Court decision, 9-0 decision. And this came about, I think it was the NCAA versus Alston, I think is maybe how you pronounce it. But it effectively landed on like antitrust issues, and that the NCAA says, this is they're promoting amateurism, right, in the college sports. So to your argument, Cal, like does it erode like kind of the spirit of what college sports is supposed to be? And I think the NCAA was holding strong on that. The Supreme Court is less interested in how what the culture is in college athletics and more of the letter of the law. And we live in a free market society, and so to effectively chain these athletes up to not being able to benefit on their NIL was unconstitutional, is what they found.
Yeah.
And I think it was weeks later, could have been days later, the NCAA changed its rules, released it. So they had already, they knew these arguments were likely not to win. They lost the case. And that was in 2021. Here we are in 2025. We're starting to see now, really, I think still the very early ages of like what this is going to be. So that's why I think this conversation is important, because it is going to adapt. It is going to change. It's going to look a little different. The main concern is this pay for play, right? And so there appears to be some gray areas in this realm. And look, I understand this pretty well doing politics. And there's all these rules and reporting and how you go about communicating with lawmakers, policymakers. And the thing you're always trying to protect against is this pay for play. But we all know, as average citizens, taking a step back, you look at politics and you say it's all pay for play. You try to catch somebody on it, really hard to do because there's all these gray areas in law and what conversations are had or not had. NIL, those laws strictly prohibit that. So these kids aren't getting money for their performance, as in performance on the field of play. They can get money for performance, as in how many social media posts they're going to do for this sponsor and show up to these events and talk to these kids or be in this commercial. That is considered the performance aspect of these NIL deals. If somebody gets hurt, it doesn't void that contract. Depends on how these contracts are done. But nevertheless, look, these kids are going to get money. And it started with kind of this fundamental, like, basic law. And the Supreme Court has ruled. So I think in that context, Tara, that under U.S. law, the Supreme Court's viewing this as an antitrust issue, okay, anti-competitive for the NCAA to prohibit these kids of benefiting from their NIL. Like, where do you land with your children, kind of, at least Phoenix, like getting closer to the age of, is college sports in his future? And if it is, and he's a top athlete, he's likely to be looking at NIL deals as a part of his decision to go to a school.
Yeah. I mean, I know that there's feelings on both sides. For me, most of my take on it is that it's positive for these kids because I mean, essentially, when you become a college athlete, like Jeremy calls it modern day slavery, that school owns you. You do not get to make a decision without them, having some sort of input. So I think that on that stance, it's not a terrible idea that they're gonna get some money for the hard work that they're putting in. I mean, these boys, like if you play football, for instance, you're getting up every morning at like what, 5 a.m. and doing 2-hour practices and running drills and killing your body. And who's to say that you even make it out of college without getting injured and you never get to profit off of all this time and effort and energy that you've put into a sport that you love. So for that, I think it's great for these kids that they're going to be able to capitalize off of their hard work. And it does have some other negative effects, like there will be no more walk-ons for football programs. And I think now because these kids get like a share of the team funds, they're no longer they're taking away their college scholarship. So now they have to pay for school themselves, I believe. Is that not correct, Kelly? No?
No,
I thought they
no.
wouldn't get.
NIL is a the school does not run the NIL deals. The school will help facilitate those deals
Yep.
as like a broker, basically, between the student and the, I'll call them sponsors, but like these sponsors come in different forms. It could be a fund, like a
Yeah.
crowdsourced fund of local businesses that
Think of
all
it
want
like
to,
advertising.
yeah, that all want to put in 10 grand a year. And next thing you know, you got a pot of money. It is completely separate, Tara, from school scholarships because they're coming out of different pockets of money. When you're getting a scholarship as a student athlete, that is not coming from a general fund within the university. Okay, those are not university funds. They're not taking taxpayer dollars or anything like that. Student tuitions are not going towards athletic scholarships. These are coming from separate booster clubs and separate sponsorships, revenue from the sports themselves. So season ticket holders, that revenue is going towards the athletic programs, and that's how they pay for scholarships.
Right,
And so Kelly
NIL,
goes
but
through this with Zips within the Akron University. I think maybe some of us have contributed to Zips. So that money is helping fund athletics, and that is very different from the general fund of running the university.
yeah, I know that. I know that. I'm talking about though. I think because now that they're able to get this NIL, the teams, and I only know for football, like the teams now get a share. If you are on the football team, you get a share of whatever that general fund is.
It's not true.
Well,
They do though. They're getting paid to be on the football team.
there's a brand new, they're just last week on June, I want to say 6th, there was a ruling that just allows now, I want to say it's $20 million a school of a
20.5.
shared, what's that?
The annual cap is expected to start at 20.5 million per school.
20.5 million per school. So there's going to be a cap that they're going to have some type of share, but that's going to be to all athletes. I don't know how they're going to parse that. So there's a potential, but that's not going to be a ton on the per person basis. The potential is, yes, some of these boosters may make other arrangements, but it's going to have to either go in the form of like NIL. It can't go. So there's two different things. There's like NCAA now still rules, and then there's like NIL private money.
Mm-hmm.
But then they all have to sign deals.
And that's what they're trying to pencil how they regulate that right now. And
right.
So it says those payments, the 20.5 million per school, those payments will be in addition to scholarships and other benefits the athletes already receive.
That's right.
But starting June 7th, players have to report NIL deals of 600 or more to the College Sports Commission. So anything NIL will be coming in outside and above that annual cap being distributed to the school.
So Terry, you may be talking about the NCAA ruling that Kelly said. I don't know. I haven't read on that.
And that
but
just
that is
happened.
different than NIL, though.
Yeah, different than NIL, but I think it happened kind of as a result of them being allowed to get this NIL money. Is that now like these football teams where you used to you could walk on, they're not doing that anymore. And they did away with that. And so now you get essentially like whatever the football program, I don't know exactly where the money comes from, but wherever that football program, whatever their total number is, it's split amongst the team evenly. Each player gets the same amount of money.
Okay. Well,
and
but
then
if that's true,
they're not getting their scholarships anymore. So they'll have to pay for college themselves.
well, yeah, I mean, I question that because so it's important to understand the buckets of money.
Yeah.
When you're in athletics, so you go to a football game, you pay $20 for that ticket. That is part of the revenue that goes towards athletics.
Mm-hmm.
That then goes to pay for student athletes. And it's not just scholarships, it's all the other things that go into paying for that student athlete. So there's a couple different buckets of money. So I question whether scholarships are going to go away because that is a completely different bucket of money and revenue, and that revenue is not going to stop coming. So if all of a sudden you're taking the $20 ticket revenue from a football game and you're putting that into the university's general fund and not giving that back to scholarships, like that's going to be a problem at the university. It's likely also going to be a legal problem. And so maybe what you're seeing now, Tara, with this, we're in a 20 odd million. When the 2021 NCAA versus Alston case came about, the legal framework now is starting to be set, and you're going to see more and more legal cases against how the NCAA is dealing with students.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're going to have continued case law built off of this. which is going to adapt and change over time how these kids are getting compensated or not getting compensated.
Yeah.
But I don't think you're going to see scholarships be going away.
So just looking it up, it's the NCAA settlement. So it mandates a revenue sharing system with a majority of this money going to football programs. They capped it at 20.5 million per school, which is roughly 22% of their average athletic department revenue. So the distribution is up to each individual school. It's widely expected that football programs will receive a significant portion, potentially around 75% of the revenue sharing cap. So these football players will get their share of that money. So it says here with like 75% going to football, 15% going to men's basketball, 5% going to women's basketball, and 5% to other sports.
Right. So, and I think that's the other big problem here is that, look, and yeah, I mean, I will admit I'm biased, but my daughter is a college athlete for swimming. She was a Division I female swimmer for all 4 years, and that's fantastic. She's an amazing athlete. You just outlined that none of this, there are other sports in the world other than men's football, men's basketball, and now maybe women's basketball gets like, and then they're like 5% other. Well, we all know that just because there are, those are those top three that of course bring all that revenue, which again, those guys have always gotten, extra things. Does this adding in NIL here now? And again, like you said, Brett, it doesn't matter. I guess it is, it's law, but this is going to further, I think, erode. There's very little professional outlets for most people beyond college. And so now you're going to basically say, even more so, we're still going to give all this money to those, top 2 or 3 things. And I think that lesser known sports like swimming, like lacrosse, like even soccer in the US, like lesser known sports and particularly female athletes are going to be on the losing end of this because they don't bring out the big crowds. And that was one of the benefits of college athletics, was that it was sort of the last place where you could have that equal, where it became, once you get into the capitalist world, professional sports, like, yeah, whoever brings the biggest crowds wins. But in college, it was, supposed to be that this was an amateur outlet for people to have and share their athletic abilities with the world. And this is not going to be positive for anybody else. It's going to be, great for football and basketball, and that's it.
I mean, isn't that just kind of, I mean, it's just more of the continuum. I mean, Kelly, that is how it is today. Mm-hmm. If you play football, if you have a great baseball team or basketball team, that's where all the attention is. I was a college athlete. I ran track. That was not a big sport. We were great. We had a great team. Mm-hmm. We won. Did anyone care? No. Mm-hmm. But if I were, what's this chick, Tara, Livy Dunn, yeah, that chick. Okay, so if I were her in the male form and I was running track, and I'm like, well, I'm not. I get a little bit of a scholarship money. To Kurt's point or someone's point, you're kind of owned by the school, and you got to sign the paperwork. You go through all the teachings and counseling on what you can and can't do per NCAA rules. They'll take you to banquets. They want you to talk about your experience at the school, all these things. That's all part of the, little sum of money they give you to do that sport activity. And that's great. But at the same time, like, man, if I wanted to have a big TikTok following, social media following, YouTube page, I wanted to go be in a local car dealership commercial and make money pre 2021 change of rule. I couldn't do any of that. Mm-hmm. And so take Kendall. She's an athlete. She's playing a sport. It's kind of like the WNBA, saying, well, we want to get paid more. And they're like, well, yeah, I don't know, get some more people into the stands. Like this is capitalism. It's like revenue.
Mhm.
Like if you start packing out houses, there's more revenue to pay you. So go ahead and do that. And so I just think college sports may turn into more of what you're seeing in professional sports, is like make that sport more interesting. And the more interesting you can make it, the more revenue that's going to come in and the more money that you can make. And
Right.
I get that we view these college kids, because there are kids, as kids, but grown men in their 50s, 60s, 70s sit down all weekend long and watch college football.
Mhm.
These aren't kids. These kids are 19 to 22 years old on average in college sports. And they have all of America watching them on a Saturday. And they earn no money for it.
Mhm.
And so, I mean, yeah, you say, well, they get scholarship and they're getting paid. No, they're not getting paid. They're not getting paid. Their parents may not be paying for them to be going to school, but that's because a sponsor or booster club is picking up the tab, right?
Mhm.
And so that's like from a fundamental point where I go back to. But I think I looked up Akron, Kelly, because I was interested just how they were handling it and how with Kendall. And I shared with you last night, I went on, they have this page that they partnered with a software platform that is specializing in kind of these NIL opportunities. And what they've done is they've taken all the athletes. And so everyone here on this pod, we all have our own profile. And for $10, you could get this athlete. And I think the girl I sent you may have been a softball player or something.
Yeah, they have really good softball.
And it says for $10, like I'll do a social media shout out. For $10, I'll come talk to kids. For $10, I'll come. And so the school is helping facilitate those interactions. Now, maybe for a football player, that $10 is $100, right?
Mhm.
But it's connecting them to the sponsors, maybe locally, maybe regionally, maybe someone like a Nike. And then also, I'm interested, Kel, this was interesting with Akron. The mascot has an NIL deal. Did you know that?
I did
Love it.
not.
Is
Zippy?
one of the first mascots to ever get an NIL deal. So the mascot itself now, its likeness and the person in that costume, presumably, right, is partaking in this NIL deal. I think that's great as
Mhm.
well.
Yeah, do you know that's because Zippy? Do you know Zippy's a girl?
I didn't, but great. And
And I don't know if
so
there's any others, but if so, she's one of the few girl mascots.
yes,
So
and I don't think that brought me to when you're in athletics, and Kendall can speak to this some too, and you can see this on the football teams. There is a lot of people that make that sport successful.
mhm.
And those aren't just the players, and it's not just your top athletes. A lot of those athletes that are not on scholarship, certainly not a full scholarship, that are having to pay some of the way, maybe having to get a job to do this, are all part of the support system that makes that great player great. And this is an opportunity for those people, that support staff, those bench players, those kids, to be able to capitalize on that. And we all know if you're sitting on the bench and you're a support system player, or a helper or a mascot or worker, you're not going past college in professional sports, right? But you were able to monetize on some of, you dedicated your 4 or 5 years to that program, that helped that college or university generate an enormous amount of revenue.
Yeah, I think it's only fair, but I think we can agree it's going to change the game.
It will.
For
Yeah, I
sure.
think it's going to change the game.
I
Mhm.
do think it incentivizes these kids though to finish college because now they're able to capitalize and they don't, you know, especially if you're in like a sport where injuries are so prevalent like football, baseball, basketball, um, you're not worried about I need to get put into the draft because, I only have a certain amount of time. This body's only going to last so long in the league. I'm fighting against injury every game and I'm not making a dime. So it helps to, keep them in college and they can get a college education that they can fall back on if they don't go into professional sports or if they, get injured or
Yeah.
for whatever reason. I think for that aspect, it's actually great because it's keeping them there. Like Livy Dunn is a great example. She's not a stellar gymnast. She's not going to go to the Olympics. And I don't know what you do after college if you're a gymnast. So she opted to put in for her 5th year because she's capitalizing while
Yeah.
she's in college and she knows that's the only place that she can do gymnastics. I think
Well, she's got a pretty good boyfriend too,
Oh
though,
yeah, I
right?
mean she'll be set. She'll be set for life. But I mean, she. I think she's obviously a good gymnast. She's just not. I don't know what the next level, if there is a next level for her, and so she decided to stay in college. I think it was a smart move for her, business wise. I think it was,
Yeah,
Mhm.
college is the epitome of athletics for a vast majority of sports.
yeah,
Yeah.
Mhm.
And beyond the big two.
yeah, or Olympic.
Yeah.
Kurt is channeling his inner Paul Skeens.
Yes.
I mean,
Who?
Yeah.
Paul Skeens.
Paul Skeens,
Who's that?
Oh,
Livy
okay.
Dunn's boyfriend. He plays for the
Oh,
Pirates, pitcher.
Pitcher,
oh,
pitcher
okay.
for the Pirates. Pretty.
Yeah,
I mean, I'd say he's pretty good.
yeah,
Rookie of the year.
he's okay.
I'd
Yeah,
say he's all right.
I don't,
We gotta watch him. We
I
gotta
don't,
watch him play when
I
we were
don't
over
even
there.
watch. I've always been that, like we all grew up playing sports and everything, but
And then we
my
don't watch it.
weekends, I don't watch sports. I don't know what it is. I
Yeah.
don't,
Oh, my whole
I'm a,
life is sports. For a girl who was never very interested in sports, my whole life revolves around them. So
yeah, well, that's because you're in it. Like you're in
yeah,
it, like mom and dad were in it when we were in it,
Well,
but
did your career end though, Tara, when you got hit in the face with a bat?
yeah, that did it for me.
You got that dimple. I mean, that
the
may have been
career,
the end of Tara's
The
athletic
the
PTSD.
career
Yeah.
career.
started and stopped within that year.
Well, I played softball for quite a few years up until that point, but after that it was
Oh.
yeah, no more
Well,
contact sports for me. We did cheer and
yeah.
track.
Kelly, we didn't talk about this though because I think maybe it's beneficial to us. We're talking about Kendall. We're talking about, but you were a college athlete.
I was.
You were.
I dove in college.
Yes. And so, like, would this not have been a great thing for you in college? I mean,
I don't know that I can compare
put
college
yourself
Kelly
in
to
today's
today,
world.
Kelly.
And I know you say this because you're like, that's not me. But here's Kelly who has multiple different social media outlets now that she's working off of, creating brands left and right. So I know still internally you're like, no, not me. But fast forward to right now, if you're in college, you're doing diving. The thing that's coming to your mind is, well, how could I capitalize on this? I
Yeah,
know I'm
I
only doing
do.
this for 4 years.
Absolutely. I do agree. I think that the world that we live in has evolved to get to where, and your point there, Brett, about making, if universities are now making it easier to have access to some of these athletes, that it's much easier to gain that access than it used to be. And again, it's like it is the new normal, and certainly it's much easier to create a brand, like Tara said, like a Livy Dunn. I mean, there are the right person can certainly create themselves, I think, a brand and capitalize on their good athletic career. I think it just changes the nature of the game. I mean, it really does. So now um maybe in some way this will force young people. I do hope. I think one of the downsides is the risk it goes back to. I mean, the risk is still back into football, is that, we see a lot of very talented young men in the NFL go broke. And we see them, implode
Mm-hmm.
sometimes even during their career. The career is very short and they're ill equipped for the amount of wealth that they receive. Just literally 2 days ago, I mean, Antonio Brown is facing, I think, some potential attempted murder charge. Apparently, he has filed for bankruptcy. I mean, this is a highly talented young man that's life is appearing to be imploding. He's like in his 40s. So I just, maybe this will encourage young people younger to embrace the actual monetary benefit that they're going to get in a true business sense, like actually capitalize on it in a way that's beneficial and not just go blow it on a G-Wagon because they got a big chunk of change. And
I think that's the best aspect about this. And I was thinking about this yesterday, Kel, and the NFL has worked hard to try to prevent this because the dollars have just gotten bigger and bigger. But colleges, they are learning good habits, and we all know one of the things that's not being taught in education today is money management, wealth
financial
management.
literacy.
And if it were, then you know what? We wouldn't have all these Northwestern Mutuals and everyone else, right? Because everyone would know how to be managing their money. So instead, we feel like we need to hire people to help us manage our own money for us. And so, I think it's good as an 18, 19-year-old that may get an NIL deal that they're going to be in that culture of college athleticism. These universities and mentors are going to be helping them with not only how to deal with that, how to get that contract and what's all included in it, but then also like how to present yourself properly within this contract. Like you're now under a contract here with these sponsors and boosters. They have expectations of you. If you do not fulfill them, they will cancel this contract. And so you're starting to learn some of the business aspect of this versus we would idolize these college athletes and then they get shipped off to the NFL, get a $20 million signing bonus, and now they're even higher. I mean, the dollar signs are just crazy these days. And they have had no experience whatsoever with a dime in their pocket and what to do with it, and no support system built around them to help them manage it. And so I think maybe that's part of the silver lining. I agree. There's going to be lots of humps along the way. This thing's going to continue to evolve and look different. Just like I said with the mascot, like there's a mascot getting NIL deals. Like who's next? It may not just all, but I think it also it's a marketplace of ideas of capital wants to move in different places, and this NIL is helping facilitate that, and hopefully in a transparent way. To your point, Kurt, I think it's now $600 or more. Those deals need to be reported. And so I think that's all good. It's not like it's being done haphazardly and all behind closed doors.
Yeah.
I think how you describe it, though, Brett, is the optimistic.
Oh, I'm an optimist. I'm an eternal optimist for sure.
Because, it reminds me of just thinking about it. I don't know if you guys ever saw that 30 for 30, the best that never was, about Marcus Dupree, who was, arguably one of the most promising college athletes, and every school wanted him. He was like an All-American. He was amazing. And he's a truck driver now. I mean, he should have been probably the best football player of our generation, and he's a truck driver now. But you think, like, what would this have done? Would that have made his life better? Could he have profited? Because he was just riddled with injuries, so he never made it to the pros. And he was it was a psychological thing too, because he was getting pulled by all these different D1 teams, and he just burned out. You got to think, like, would he have had a more promising shot if he could have capitalized off of it? And this was back in the day too, where colleges were coming to his mom and like giving his mom money. They were just dropping off bags of cash. But you look at that type of fame at such a young age ruined this star athlete. So you're looking optimistic, but But you have to. I mean, these are still kids, so
Dude, I think we have such a nostalgia about what we want college sports to
Mhm.
be.
Mm-hmm.
Money ruins people day in and day out across our economy.
Mm-hmm.
A young kid gets a great job, starts earning a lot of money, earns more money the next year, more money the next year. Guess he gets into drugs. He gets into doing some shady business. He's filing for bankruptcy. He loses his kids. This happens every day. They make TV shows about it
I was
now,
about to say
greed
that
and all
show,
these other
Brett,
stuff.
that we just watched.
So, look,
Great
this
show.
is human nature. It's not our job, per our Constitution, per the Supreme Court's decision, to be getting in the way of the
Mm-hmm.
free market. And
Yeah.
so,
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm able to take a step back from it because, like you, Kurt, I don't watch sports all the time, so I don't have like this nostalgia towards the way things have
Are or
been.
were have been. Yeah.
And this also came about when Live Golf started
Mm-hmm.
and the PGA Tour and all those that love the prestige of PGA
Mm-hmm.
Tour golf were all up in a tizzy. And I'm like, so do you
Mm-hmm.
own this individual? Is that what you like? You want to be a socialist and tell this person what he can and can't do?
Mm-hmm.
Or just like get over it? Like, are you not allowed to change jobs? Are you telling me that your job has you locked in, that you're never allowed to change jobs for more money?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's a
So,
good point.
and if you did that deal, it's a bad deal. So that's where I come down on it.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing. And you'll see here soon, Brett, like the competition, it starts at such a young age. We took Phoenix to a camp in Charlotte and they were like, he doesn't have a Twitter account. He doesn't have an Instagram. Why isn't he on
Right.
TikTok? I was like, because he's 12. Like, why would he have any of these things? And they're like, "Oh no, like the college recruits, they're already looking. You can already get NIL deals. He can already be doing all of these things." And that's what they're looking for is they want not only an athlete, but they want like a personality to go along with it. And I'm like, "Oh my God." Like it does
Yeah.
change like that perspective. And like he already has a profile, an NCSA profile. He's only going into the 8th grade. I mean, they're thinking about these things so early now.
Yeah. Well,
And
you know
there's
what?
more
But
access
it's,
to it than,
yeah.
when we were in high school.
Well, I mean, in some respects, so that's good, right? You as a parent get to
I basically have to become
walk
his
them.
manager.
Yeah, you get to walk them through that though, and have those conversations earlier than you otherwise may have had.
Yeah,
And you know, I
but I think
mean,
it's
look,
good. It breeds I like anything that breeds competition. I think it's great.
I just go back to like what's ethically right
Mhm.
and what's constitutionally accurate, and I think it could turn into a horrible disaster.
Good. Or it could be
Um,
amazing. Who knows? I'm like you. I don't
mhm.
watch college sports, so I don't.
Your
Yeah,
husband does, though.
No, he doesn't watch. We don't watch college or professional sports in this house.
No.
No, Super Bowl. That's about it.
but Jeremy loves some sports though.
Jeremy
He loves
loves some
sports,
college
but
football.
he coaches sports. We live sports. We don't watch sports
Yeah,
unless we're watching
it
our
is
own
different.
children.
Yeah, it is different.
Yeah.
I
Um,
unfortunately will have to jump off, guys. I got to jump on this 10:15
all right,
with
Kurt,
my.
we'll give you conspiracy corner next week.
Yes, and I what I want it to be is it goes back to the big beautiful bill, and it goes back to there was a nice little segment in there that prohibits states from regulating AI for 10 years, which
Yeah,
is shady, and then all this funding that is going to a private organization, private corporation, Palantir, and how Palantir is going to be consolidating and kind of running the AI department for the government, which is very scary. So let's do our research on that, and we can talk on that next pod.
yeah.
Dun,
I
dun,
mean, some
dun.
people are saying Palantir is going to be worth $1 gazillion in the next decade. So
Mm-hmm.
And
it
what is that?
certainly
That's a business?
it is. We'll save a lot of it for the next
Well,
pod,
I mean, go
Tara.
ahead and just
Mm-hmm.
drop
It's a
some
public. It's a
drop some
publicly
money in
traded.
that.
It's a
real quick.
publicly traded company. We make no stock tips here.
Okay, I'm
And
writing that one down. I'm writing that one down for Lincoln's little
Mhm.
Kelly is in the financial world, so we'll steer clear
A-
here
a-
on
and there are some interesting
Not to be
correlations.
instituted as financial advice.
There are a lot of connections between the founders of Palantir, JD Vance up to Trump, and there's just some interesting things we should talk about. But I got to go.
all right,
Okay, love you guys.
out
I
by
love you.
you. Okay, we've got a little bit of time here left, but I did want to. We can move on from NIL, and I wanted to highlight because I thought that's kind of what we're trying to do here too, is create some content and get ourselves out there. Maybe some people like us. For Tara, maybe some people don't like us, but that
There
helps
we go.
you.
I bought him some Palantir on his
Oh,
little thing.
golly.
Lincoln's
Live
little
on
Okay.
air.
Lincoln's little stock market.
Love it. So Tara, I'll start with you. I wanted to cover some of our, before we end the day, just some of our favorite social media content creators right
Okay.
now that you're following, maybe this week, maybe somebody new, maybe somebody long-standing, and tell us why you like them.
I follow so many people. Most of the people I follow are like not actually fashion related, which is ironic. So I screenshotted this morning some of my favorite people that I follow and why I follow them. So, and there's one I couldn't find, and Kendall and I were talking about it. I'll find her and I'll tag her. She's a Brit and she's just hilarious. But I follow this guy Dylan and he's hilarious. He does these bits if I was a girl, and then he just like continues on and he creates like a scenario in his head and he gives himself a name and he gives all his friends a name and he gives whoever his boyfriend or whoever he's dating a name. He's so funny. Um, if you just need a good laugh, I highly suggest watching his videos. I think your girls follow him too, Kelly. This one I've sent to Kelly, Layla K. Soleil, I think is how you say her name. Layla.k.soleil. She has a podcast as well. And she's just very inspiring, very motivational. She's, kind of helps you navigate relationships in the world, and I think she always has something beneficial to say for what she posts on social media anyways. I can't say that I've actually listened to like a full podcast of hers. And then the rest I follow are just like funny. Mad Mitch, she's funny. She does like funny takes on phrases. She says phrases I've been saying and you should say them too, and like just she just has like a funny outlook on like life. She's really sarcastic. And then if you want a fashion, Nikki Bell is like our modern day Joan Rivers. He's hilarious. He's savage. He just critiques every red carpet. And usually he's like in a bathrobe. I think he's kind of putting on that he's like slightly hungover and he's just like the, green screen with the images behind him. And he's like, trash. Ugh, why would she wear that? Like, he's so funny. He just reads these outfits and then sometimes he likes them, but he's my favorite to watch just because he doesn't care. He's gonna say whatever. He's not trying to cater to any celebrity. Very funny. And I mean, I could give you more, but I follow so many
No, that's a
people.
good.
I think that's plenty. Yeah,
That's a lot more than I
a
was
lot more.
expecting.
I love TikTok, so I have a lot of people
That's
that I follow.
are these people just
She's
fun?
got a few.
You
Are
said
these
you wanted a few.
people? How does it work these days? Like, if you're on TikTok, you're also like on all the other platforms.
Oh
It's
yeah,
just
yeah.
yeah.
So
Okay.
they're all the same name. We can share them. I can share them. I will say, you guys are Kelly's on TikTok a little bit. Brett, you're not really on TikTok, right? You're just on X.
I don't have a
You don't even
TikTok.
have a TikTok. Okay, well maybe it's happening
No.
on X. Something I will say about, especially with the riots and everything happening right now, that I find on TikTok that I don't think people understand why they have an audience on TikTok. Like, if you're not a political creator, I don't care about your politics. I don't need you to comment and like make me feel bad for maybe being opposing to you, or I mean, like, it's like the last week, and really, I guess the last before the riots even started happening, just the amount of creators who are maybe like a comfort creator, a fashion creator, they're doing like get readies with me, and then they just want to flip a switch and go so serious and like
Yeah.
shame you about politics. I don't enjoy that on social media at all. I don't care if you're posting like politics that I agree with or not. If that's not why I follow you, I'm unfollowing you immediately. That's not what I want to see on your page.
Yeah. Well, politics certainly triggers a lot of people, and they see
And I
that they have a
know
following,
political
so they have a
creators,
say, and
but
you know,
you know,
yeah.
I feel like they're more informed. If you're a political creator, that's all you're focusing on. You've done your research. To just go and make like flippant statements about politics when you're usually talking about the color of your lip gloss, it just seems like so tone deaf to me. I'm like, no,
Well, I
I can't take
mean,
that seriously.
it's like it goes back to like know your audience. You see
Right.
Hollywood try to do this, and they do it selectively and
Mhm.
briefly because at the end of the day, like they want to sell their music or their movies or whatever, and that's to everyone who's willing to buy a ticket or buy a subscription or a CD. We don't do CDs anymore, but yeah. So they'll probably learn their lesson and
Yeah.
do it more selectively for the right issues. Because at the end of the day, they're trying to make money.
Oh yeah.
So
I think politics is like the one thing that everybody jumps on because it's easy. But I gotta say that I think that sometimes people who are a little bit of a public figure or put themselves out there in some way also that doesn't mean that you're completely boxed in to never having an opinion about something else.
right.
And this happens in the other worlds as well, even if they don't venture into politics is like always the easiest to demonize. But
Mhm.
I had a there was like a post on X this week by he's actually like a YouTube accountant that I follow, who I've met, very nice guy, Logan Graff. And he's a young guy, CPA, been building his practice in a little bit of a transparent way and just kind of showing it. But he made a post about like how he kind of stays active. He's got 3 small children, like, and whatever. And it was about creatine. And the hate that he
Mhm.
got because he dared to venture outside of his box
Right.
by other like people, particularly because there's a whole like little subset called tax Twitter. I was like, what the heck is going on? And people were like, how dare you have an opinion about creatine because you're a tax guy? And it was like, what the heck? And so, it's like people just need to take a beat and stop.
uh,
People are multidimensional. Like just because,
Yeah.
yeah.
you talk about one thing doesn't mean you can't have an opinion. Like I may not be a fashion influencer, but I have an opinion on fashion. I'm allowed, you know what I mean? Like it's like
Yeah,
Uh,
sorry.
doesn't
I didn't mean it like that. I mean it like more when they
no, no,
come
I don't
at
mean for
you
you,
in such
Tara.
a it's like right off the rip they're already putting you down by telling you,
Yes.
and that's what I don't like. Like if you just want to give me a general insight into who you are and what you believe, obviously I'm all for that. I post that kind of
Yeah.
stuff all the time and it infuriates people. But
Right.
I don't mind that. It's just when you go right at it with like it feels like an attack right off the rip, like, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
I mean, you're like my feel good creator. I don't want that from you.
yeah. Well, like we had our viral conversation
Hmm.
the last pod, and I think social media allows people to be extreme because
Yeah.
you're not in front of that person, and you would never say that to somebody's face. If they made that comment to you, you would yeah, you'd be more cordial. You could disagree, but you're still going to have a conversation because you're like, well, I still like Tara or still like Kelly, like where our kids are here doing a swim meet like I was doing last night. And I may somebody makes a comment I disagree with, I'm like, okay, I just don't we're not going to talk about that, change topic, because there's plenty of other things
Oh
that we
yeah.
can we can talk about and get along with, and
And
I
imagine if
don't.
we agreed on everything. How boring.
Yeah,
Boring would
you
it
know,
be?
it's kind of like marriage though too, right? Compromise is a big aspect
Mhm.
of being able to stay with somebody for a long time, and yeah, if you're that black and white, like bless your spouse. Maybe you don't have one anymore, and
Probably
there's a
not.
reason
Yeah.
for it. Um,
Gotta be able to give a little.
so Kel, what are some of your favorites? I know you mentioned multi-dimensional, and I think you're pretty multi-dimensional right now in everything you're doing. So I'm interested in other. I mean, I'm sure there's some tax Twitter in there, but like, is there name some tax Twitter? But is there anyone outside of that realm that you
Yeah,
like to
no,
follow?
I am a little multidimensional. So, it's obviously I come from tax, so I love some tax and accounting talk just because I think that we're not traditionally known as the most
Fun.
personality fun. Sure. We're not like we're we're accountants. I mean, so I have a stereotype and I get it. But I think that there's some people who are venturing out into the world and showing that you can, kind of have and not be like necessarily what like social media influencers tell you to be, and you can just kind of be normal, which I think is me. I'm just kind of a very normal person. There is a specific like tax gal. Her name is Jasmine Delucci. And she kind of just like very easily just like talks basic and like debunks stuff, which I like. And she's super practical. I mentioned Logan. He's doing a thing on YouTube a lot, which is kind of interesting just about the behind the scenes of running a practice in a super transparent way. And then I follow some bigger creators in the business world, people that I like that just feel like inspiring. And frequently the overwhelming opinion of all of them is like do more things, put more things out there, like stop, getting in your own way. So people like Gary Vee, Dan Martell, um, Layla Hormozy, and then of course Cody Sanchez. So those are kind of my big dogs, and they're all very big dogs in the world. But I think that they make a good point about showing they're all very different types of people, that you don't need to be super perfect. You don't also need to be comparing like your day one to somebody else's day 1000. Like if you have, an opinion or a passion about something, it is okay to make yourself present without, having to, I don't know, put on an affront to something you're not. Like it's okay to just be you and do a lot of it. And yeah,
Yeah,
so.
awesome,
Mhm.
awesome. Well, I'll go through. I got two, and my first one, this guy Alan Peters, and he does. I follow a lot of people that do like graphic design, logo. I like that stuff, Kelly. You know this.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. It's certainly a hobby, and I play around with creating logos and designs myself. I think I've always been that way. So this guy Alan Peters, um, he takes a lot of existing company logos and he'll redesign them
Oh.
just for himself and his followers. So he'll take like an iconic logo and be like, I'm going to tell you what's kind of wrong with this logo. And I'm going to recreate this logo for this brand. What it's led to is like he's now some of these brands are like hiring him to actually redo their logos and everything, and he comes at it I think from a very fundamental graphic design standpoint, and then also just has a really good aesthetic. Like I think Kelly, you know, I've talked about this. There's a lot of people who want to say they like are in marketing or graphic design, and you see some of the work and you're like, oh my god, it's horrid, right? Like they may have great fundamentals but they don't have a vision or a creative aspect to them that's actually good. So it's rare that you find somebody that's able to do both, and then this guy is a great self promoter. I think he has a book. So I just love following his work. For the audience, I really only have Instagram, so I'm sure these people are doing stuff on TikTok and Facebook and whatnot.
I just found him on TikTok.
Yeah, I assume I'm getting the same content, maybe in different
Probably.
versions, but so I think he's really great, and his work is like impeccable and very relevant, and fun to watch. And then the next one's a more fun one. There's this lady, I don't know how she came across my feed, but she runs this breakfast cafe in maybe Illinois or something. Judy's Family Cafe. She's like an Asian lady that I'm assuming a lot of this content is probably TikTok, but she has a couple 100,000 on Instagram, and she just does like these little bits, reposting like something somebody else did, and then she'll like butt in, and next thing you know, there's like a pancake in your face, and she's talking with her Asian accent, and like literally, it from what it looks like, this
The
lady
little
runs
glasses.
a yeah, like it looks like she just runs a cafe
So
in
funny.
Illinois, and she's like a viral sensation selling pancakes. And I think that is, I find it intriguing on one aspect of like trying to make a cafe look cool. It looks like it's out in the middle of nowhere,
Nowhere.
but
Yeah.
it's probably now like a tourist attraction because she herself is going viral, and she is spending the time to put herself out there, and she sells pancakes and breakfast stuff and maybe other things. I don't know. I mean,
She
maybe
has
one day
merch.
I'll go.
You can buy merch.
She
What's
has
that?
merch.
And merch. Yeah, she just came up with like new coffee mugs. So now you can buy Judy's Cafe merch. And I think she's hilarious. If you if you don't follow her, and you probably don't, you should go give her a follow. She'll crack you up every day with the new
You can
content
buy
she
her
puts out there.
sunglasses. Her teeny little.
Yeah. She's hilarious. So
Tara's like on it immediately.
She has
those are my
magnets.
two.
You can buy her T-shirt that she wears in every video. I'm into it. You
I
can
think
buy
her
a
English is
keychain with her
actually
face
pretty
on it.
I think her English is actually pretty bad. I think she works hard to get the script right when she does these things, because I think it's pretty broken English. But it's hilarious.
That's the beauty
So
of social media. I love
I
it's
it.
so
love it.
funny. I don't have the courage to ever do that myself, but good for her,
Should.
and way to
You
go.
should, Brett. You'd be so funny.
No, I'm not. It's not.
We're gonna make Brett funny.
Yeah, like I've
Not
seen
in
that
me.
guy. I think it's called like Dude Dad or something. Like, I mean, he
Maybe.
just films himself with his kids and like doing yard work, and I mean, he's got millions of
Planting
followers
flowers.
on TikTok. Yeah.
I just have no interest in that at all. None. I mean, I do all that stuff. I have no interest in
I know,
putting the
just
camera
set
on
up
me
a
to.
tripod. It'd be like a little side hustle money.
Yeah. Well, look, I think that was a good episode. Hopefully our audience likes it. Give us a like, give us some comments if you think that we're too controversial on the NIL, or did anyone offend you with that America is fat and overweight? Yeah, like let's make a controversy. Get us to go viral here. Help us out, please. Trolls, come to
Somebody
the
did call
pod.
Talia Karen with her opinions on why American children are fat.
Yeah, we welcome the trolls, y'all.
Yes.
So,
Mm-hmm.
make it a controversy. Call us out. Maybe we're wrong. We're probably not. So we'll just see. But on that note, we'll wrap it up.
Oh my
Have a
God.
good week and enjoyed it.
All
Bye.
right. Bye.